Hello and welcome to the overview of the new GCSE Kaboodle optimised digital textbook ready for your course teaching in September 2024. Today I'm going to walk you through the digital textbook and some of the new functionality schools are absolutely loving, and then take you just through into the details of the courses, resources and assessment. So we're going to begin by opening the digital higher French GCSE textbook. And as you can see, we've hotspotted the textbook. The Kaboodle GCSE for languages are all now mobile optimised, which means that students and teachers can access all of the data, the listening activities, they can record on their phones, everything is accessible by mobile. So what you can see, which schools particularly like, are the fact that we've now added answers. So the answers sit on the page and you would just click on the hotspotted icon here, which would take you to the answers. This isn't visible to students, however, there is a way for you to send the answers to the students. You also have on toddle into the transcript, and here you have the listening. So you can click on the audio activity
1.1 F, Activity 5.
Salut Corinne.
Okay. At the bottom of the screen, you can see you now have, if I hover over the icon, you've got writing worksheets. And again, here you've got answers to those worksheets. Again, these aren't visible to the students. The other icons that we have on the page are the grammar. So the grammar interactives that you can move directly from the hotspot on the book relates to the grammar within the page, within the learning spread. And you can move directly into the grammar interactive here. So you could use this for front of class teaching, or you could advise students to access this for homework. The students will move through the questions here, and then they have the ability to check their answers here. If you do set this as a homework, you will be able to see the student's score, and we can cover that at a later date. And students can then review their answers. So you can move directly from the book page into the answers, the transcripts, the audio activities. You've also got both grammar and verb interactives on the book page. The other way to access the resources on the book page is to open up this icon file here. So I've hovered over it and it's saying show resources. Not all of the resources in Kaboodle will be hotspotted onto the book page. So always check in the resources bank here and you'll be able to see that you've got additional resources that you can move through. So as I move through the book pages, it only pertains to each individual learning spread. So as you can see, the resources on here change. The further tools that you can move through are on the left-hand side, you have a table of contents. And again, you can move directly from the contents page onto the book page. You then have a selection of tools. And if you notice right down at the bottom here, you've got a Save Changes button. So you will only be annotating your copy. So as a teacher, you'll be annotating the teacher copy, students will annotate their own copies. And then when you've annotated a copy, you can save the changes. What schools find really useful is often to add sticky notes, which you can drop onto the page, and then they just sit there as a little pin, which you can open up and again save at the end of that. And that you have a way to hide the annotations on here. So these are tools similar to the ones that you'd use on a whiteboard or a Promethean board. The next icon that we have is your ability to zoom in and out of the book page. I'll show you how to move to a single page spread in a second, but you have the zoom facility. You can enlarge to a full screen here, but what schools also like is this little magnifying tool here, which enables you to pull to the front of your class teaching, and then you can zoom back in or out here. You also have the ability here to toggle the hotspots, so you can hide the hotspots on there as well. The next icon which schools use really well is the notes page. So students and teachers can add their own notes on here and export the notes. And the second icon that you've got is bookmarking. So if you know there's a particular worksheet that you really like, you can move directly into that and it'll take you onto that book page there. And finally, the final icon on here is the settings. So for dyslexic students, or if you've got issues in the classroom with lighting, you can add an overlay. So this is on that settings button, and then you can move to the single or double page spread, which I mentioned before. The only other thing to point out is you can move the docking, which is this docking bar here. You can have that at the top or the bottom. So essentially that's everything on the digital textbook, and I'm just going to now move into the main body of Kaboodle. Whilst I'm on here, you do have the ability to see assignments that you've sent to students, whether there are any to mark, and move directly into those resources. But all we're going to look at today is the main body of Kaboodle. So I've clicked on the course, got the bank of resources, you've got the bank of assessment, you then have a mark book and reports, which will be covered at a later session, and you have the user management tab. User management gives you the ability to invite more teachers. So if you have ECTs or you want to add someone onto your Kaboodle log on, you can just use that tab there. So within the resources tab, you have both the foundation book and the higher book, and you would use this drop down here. You have the teaching support, and within the teaching support, you have the schemes of learning, the teacher answers, the audio transcripts, the workbooks, downloadable assessment. In order to go back to the main branch of the resources, you click back here, and then you could move into the teaching spreads this way. And when you're in the teaching spreads, you can see in this first unit, we currently have 78 resources in there, and then you can open up the resources here. You can see whether the resources are visible to students. You can see which pages they relate to, which textbook, that they're created by Oxford or created by yourselves. And you can also favourite these resources, so they'll add them to your favourites, which is quite handy when you're familiarising yourself with new content. So you have the bank of resources, so you can send the resources out to students as homework, which again we're covering in a separate session. And you also have the bank of assessment. So the bank of assessment can be filtered. I'm just going to filter for Oxford only. You can add your own assessments on here. But here's where you'll see the assessments, the type of assessments that are on here. And in order to look at those again, as you can see, it shows you the mark, where the assessment sits, and the type of assessment that it is. And then you would launch it directly this way. Okay, so my colleague is going to cover the mark book and the reports in more detail. Of course, as always, we are happy to offer bespoke training sessions either in person or on Teams. Thank you for your time.